Hey guys, today we're going to be working on faces. This video is going to be talking about proportions for faces when you look at them dead on from the front. Proportions that make a face look more masculine, more feminine, older, younger. The next video is going to talk about proportions and features when the face is 3/4, profile, 1/4, when you barely see this much of the face and mostly ear. And then future videos is going to talk about how to illustrate faces with or without makeup. Let's get started. So just so you guys can see clearly, I'm going to draw much larger than croquis size right now. I'm going to start with an upside down egg. I'm going to do a man's face and a woman's face. But they each start with an upside down egg. Split them in half, this way and this way. This center line, this horizontal center line, is going to be your eye line. Your eyes sit on the middle of your head, not the middle of your face, but the middle of your head. And if you want your figure to look a little bit younger, you can drop your eyes a little bit, because the closer your features are to each other, the younger you look. If you look at the classic Gerber baby or just any babies, all their features are here, and then they have a massive forehead, just so much head, right? And then as they get older, their features start spreading. On the flip side of that, if you want a customer or muse that looks a little bit more older, sophisticated, mature, you want to take their eyes and just move it up a hair, and so that their face looks a little bit longer, and you'll get a more elegant, mature look, like Angelica Houston, Daphne Guinness, like those kinds of women, right? So the center will be kind of your average, youngish, adult, a little higher for older, little lower for teen, tween, maybe more just like a cutesier look. Now the proportions horizontally is you want an eye width in between your eyes, minimum. If you are going for that younger, cutesier look, you can space them apart a little bit more, but you need at least one eye width in between, or they really start looking cross-eyed or pinched. So it's one eye, one eye, one eye. And then on either side, you want about half an eye. So I'm going to space them apart like this. Okay. So this is one eye here. This is one eye here. One eye, one eye, one eye, half an eye, right? And the same with your men. Right? One eye, half eye, one eye, half eye, like so. When you create your eye features, you can start with your classic football shape. And to give it a more realistic eye, I would flatten here, add your tear duct, add your eye crease, so that you have an eye that looks more You don't want eyelashes to stick straight up like spider legs, but you want the curl happening. You can put as many eyelashes as you want, but you definitely want them to look like they're curling and more fluttery. For, all the stuff, the iris, the pupil, and whatnot, you don't want it to be this round piece in the middle. She's going to look super startled. That's always super fun. Not really. You want more of a U shape in here. And then your pupils in here. if you have a really close-up eye, you can do things like bottom lashes and putting in your pupil. When you start drawing your teeny tiny croaky eyes, you're probably not going to have room for that. For guys, the basics are the same. Typically, I don't draw a lot of eyelashes on guys. Like sometimes I'll do a little guy liner, but I won't do big fluttery lashes. Even though in real life, I know lots of guys with really beautiful, gorgeous, fluttery lashes. It's one of those things that really starts feminizing an illustration too much. So with the guy, I start with that same football and the smushing here and the smushing here and adding the tear duct. But I tend to draw men a little bit more angular and more square and with slightly smaller eyes, like, they're kind of like squinting a little bit. Because I guess that's cool. I don't know. It's fashion. And yeah, right now I'm not really concerned with how beautiful I'm making these features because I'm just trying to show you basic placement right now. I promise it's going to look cooler in a second. I mean, obviously, you can also do a monolid. I'm a monolid. I don't have that crease in my eyelid. Now, for the top half of the woman's head, you want to break it up into thirds. This top third is going to be where her hairline is. And, hair kind of grows out. You never want a hairline that's super crisp and perfect unless you're talking about a black person with a really tight fade. Like they have the really crisp hairlines. I mean, they go to, the barber of their choice to make sure that they're getting that perfect line. But, the rest of us, our hair grows. We have irregular hairlines, and that's normal and natural. That's just how our hair grows. So it grows up and out like so. Now this bottom third, that's going to be your eyebrow space. So your eyebrows can sit a little bit lower than this line, but they can never go higher unless you're starting to develop characters where they look more like Cruella de Vil. So the top of your eyebrows should be no higher than this line. They should be close to symmetrical. You're never going to get perfectly symmetrical, and that's okay because, human faces aren't symmetrical, but you should get close to it. Although I did have one student who told me, Zoe, eyebrows aren't twins, but they're sisters. So I guess that was her way of saying that like a little asymmetry is okay. So we're going to put our eyebrows in here like this. But when you draw her features, keep in mind that you're not going to just give me a block of eyebrow. You're going to fill that in with actual hairs because eyebrows are made out of hairs. And when I render faces, I do eyebrows with the color pencil so that I can have that hairy texture happening so that they look like real eyebrows. And, eyebrow fads come and go sometimes. Right now we're doing like thicker brows coming off of like the whole Cara Delevingne super thick brows thing. And, there have been periods of time like in the 20s when you had the super skinny Marlena Dietrich Clara Bow brow. But never, ever, ever give me a sperm brow. This is a sperm brow. When you have that super tight big knot and then you get that sperm brow is never attractive. With guys, I break this up into quarters. This top quarter is where this guy's hairline is. Okay, let's say he's got a pompadour going. That's where his hairline is starting. And then this is where his eyebrows start. So, a lot of guys, they don't pluck as much as women do. Now, the bottom half of the face, again, I would cut it into thirds again. And this is about where the nose stops. So like here, her nostrils are here, like so. For the man, I would cut it in half, and that's where his nose ends. A little bit longer on the dude, a little bit broader, a little bit more significant. Sometimes I like to give him a little bump on the ridge. For the mouth, erase that mark. And in this remaining space, again, break it up into thirds. And this top third is going to be the center of your mouth. This is going to be your middle line. And then there's your upper lip. There's your lower lip. And this third line, this is that dent right here under your mouth. And then your chin comes out like so. On men, again, we're going to break this up into thirds, and this is the center line for the mouth. I generally don't draw an upper lip for men, and this might be a great failing on my part, where when I draw an upper lip on guys, they see like I can't seem to draw them in a way where they look really masculine. And if I tend to draw an upper lip on guys when I want a more androgynous, little bit more femme look. And then again, this is that divot in there. Ears start in between the eyebrow and the eye and end right level with the nose. So here, here, also on dudes, here, and here. And then right now their faces are so round. And this is where I start carving into the face some. So, go in for the temple and out for the cheekbone and out for the jaw some. Depending on what kind of shape you wanted to give them. You want to give them a little heart shape or make them, a little bit more cutesy and round with rounded cheeks. If you want them to look super femme, maybe a little perky little pointy chin and like rounder cheeks. If you want them to look a little bit more sophisticated, you want to like angle the cheekbones and, make this cheekbone and this jaw more prominent. If you want it to look super cutesy, maybe this is just, everything is softer and rounder. For guys, again, I do draw things more angular. So I'm going to give him a really square jaw and chin. And then your neck is coming out under here. And then with guys, you want to give them an Adam's apple. So yeah, right now my faces look pretty gnarly because everything was about placement and making sure everything is placed correctly. Now I'm going to flip the page over and I'm going to redraw everything so that everything looks nice. faces, male and female. And you know, the reason I showed you this process, like figuring out the proportions on the back and then redrawing the features in a prettier way in the front, is this is a really good learning process for many of you, especially if you're new to drawing faces. It's really hard to try to do 5 new things at the same time, or even 2 new things at the same time. And so, you know, if you're trying to place everything properly and draw perfect features at the same time, it can be really complicated and frustrating. It's much easier to figure out where to place everything, kind of map out your features according to, you know, how old, how young, how masculine, how feminine you want your face to look, and then put in your features, having the placement there to help you. Right? So if you're getting started, I would highly recommend that you first start the process with this 2-step method. If you're going to do this process, I like using marker paper because, you know, you can see through it, but not completely. So when you redo the drawing, the back of the paper isn't so strong that you still see a lot of it. And if you're going to use this as a final, you can just erase the back, or you can use tracing paper and just layer sheets of tracing paper on top, and that's fine. Or if you're going to be working on something with painting, you know, draw something on tracing paper and then use a light box and draw on top. If I'm transferring drawings to watercolor paper, I only trace finals. Like I've worked out all the things, all the patterns and hairstyles and everything, because I hate erasing on top of watercolor paper because it really affects the texture, especially if you erase a lot. And then your paint will, you know, not work as smoothly on top. You don't want to be erasing a lot on the surface of your watercolor paper. Hot press or cold press, doesn't matter. And if these terms don't make any sense to me, I have a whole video on how to shop for paper, and I'll drop a link in the comments. Other than that, that's it for proportions for full frontal faces. See you next time.